You're listening to Paradox Eclipse Theory, and this is the black sphere NASA found 30,000 feet down. Far beneath the Pacific Trench, where no light reaches, something waits that shouldn't exist. A void of impossible density, a reflection of ourselves, and a presence that doesn't belong to this world. When curiosity drives us deeper, the ocean becomes a doorway, and what steps through may never stop. If you're ready to descend into the abyss, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with fellow Creepypasta fans. Drop a comment below. Your support helps this channel grow and brings more stories from the dark corners of our planet and beyond. Now sit back, dim the lights, and prepare to dive 30,000 feet down. I didn't see the faces at first, not until the lights died. When the power blinked out inside abyssal and the emergency strips flickered red along the ceiling, I looked toward the forward viewport, and there they were. Dozens of human faces pressed against the glass from the outside, drifting in the black water 30,000 feet beneath the Pacific Trench, eyes wide, mouths open, skin pale as moonlight. They weren't alive. They weren't dead either, just waiting. And every one of them had my face. "Alan, don't look at it," someone whispered behind me, a voice I recognized, my own voice, but I was the only one standing there. I squeezed my eyes shut, breath tightening as another whisper scraped my ear. "You shouldn't have come down here." The lights surged back on, the faces vanished. But that was only the first warning. My name is Alan Reyes, ex-astronaut, deep submergent specialist, and, if you believe the briefing, one of the least crazy people NASA could still trust with a mission nobody would ever admit existed. The real story began 12 hours earlier when Captain Lyra Chen marched us into the operations bay aboard abyssal. The submersible was larger than any vessel that had ever gone this deep, 3 decks tall, thick-skinned, built like a bunker with engines. I remember my boots vibrating from the hum of the reactor. I remember the stale, recycled air. I remember the way everyone avoided eye contact, like we'd already died and were pretending not to know it. Lyra stood at the front of the room, a tablet in her hand, jaw locked tight. "Listen up," she said. "Orpheus 9 didn't just vanish. It saw something that shouldn't exist." She tapped the screen, the lights dimmed. A single image filled the monitors. The black sphere. Perfectly smooth, perfectly round, perfectly wrong. It sat in a cavern so deep no natural force could have carved it. The room went silent. Even the reactor hum felt quieter. Elliot, our communications tech, finally spoke. "Is that metal?" "Not metal, not rock, not anything we can classify." Dr. Ambrose, the physicist, leaned forward. "Then how do you explain the density reading? The probe measured it at..." "Infinitely dense. We know," Lyra finished. I swallowed hard. A sphere the size of a cockpit shouldn't have infinite density. It shouldn't exist. And yet there it was, captured in the last millisecond of telemetry. "What happened to Orpheus 9? I asked. Lyra looked at me like she wished I hadn't spoken. "It was recording, and then it wasn't. Something cut the feed. Something intelligent." Elliot shook his head. "Hold on. Intelligent as in alive?" Ambrose muttered. "Alive isn't the word I'd use." That should have been the end of the briefing. Turn back, abort. But NASA doesn't bury missions because they're dangerous, only because they're embarrassing. And this one couldn't leak. "Gear up," Lyra ordered. "We descend in 10. An hour later, abyssal plunged into the trench, the hull groaning as the ocean swallowed us whole. The lights faded from blue to black to something deeper than black. At 10,000 feet, fish stopped appearing. At 20,000 feet, our sonar started bending. By 25,000 feet, the real weirdness began. We were gathered in the command deck when Elliot cursed under his breath. Signals looping. I leaned over his station. Looping how? Like our radio calls are bouncing back at us from inside the ship. Ambrose frowned. That's impossible. Reflection would require... It's not reflecting, it's repeating. Something's copying our transmissions and sending them in reverse. Lyra crossed her arms. Could it be some kind of interference? No, because the last one was my voice saying something I didn't say. My skin crawled. The air felt tighter, wet almost. Lyra didn't flinch. Play it. Elliot hesitated, then hit a key. A distorted whisper crackled through the speakers. Don't come closer. Ambrose stiffened. That was you. Elliot's voice trembled. I didn't say that. I stared toward the viewports, into the ink swirling outside. For a moment, I thought I saw something shift, like a shadow moving against deeper darkness. My throat tightened. We're almost there, right? Ambrose checked his instruments. 200 meters from the anomalous cavity. Lyra nodded. Prep for manual stabilization. Then it happened. The first hallucination. Except it wasn't a hallucination. A soft tapping echoed from the portside viewport, like fingers on glass. Elliot whispered, "No, no, no." A silhouette drifted past the window, a human shape, hair floating like seaweed, arms limp. Ambrose whispered, "A body?" But it wasn't a corpse. It turned toward us, and its face, it was mine. Same scars, same eyes, same terrified expression. Elliot stumbled back. "Jesus, Alan, that's you!" Lyra slammed the emergency shutter controls. The steel plate slid over the window, sealing the shape out of sight. "Nobody looks outside again," she barked. "Not until we know what we're dealing with." I tried to breathe. My chest felt heavy, like the ocean was already inside me. Ambrose whispered, "Reflections, delayed, just like the sphere." I snapped toward him. "What did you say?" The probe captured reflections, human shapes appearing on the sphere's surface, slightly out of sync. "And they're appearing outside our ship now?" "Not appearing, mimicking," muttered Ambrose. Lyra crossed her arms. "We continue. If that thing is reacting to us, it means it knew we were coming." Her voice didn't shake. Mine would have. We dropped deeper. The gravity shifted. Not much, just enough to make the deck tilt under my boots. The lights dimmed to a faint red glow. Every screw in the hull creaked like metal bones straining under ancient pressure. Then the cavern appeared. A rupture in the trench wall, perfectly circular, perfectly symmetrical, like something had drilled a hole into earth with surgical precision. "Thrusters at minimum," Lyra ordered. "Alan, how's our approach?" "Steady," I managed. Inside the cavern, everything was still. Weightless particles floated like dust in a sunbeam, but there was no sun and no beam, just the sphere. We saw it at the same time, black, smooth, silent. It didn't reflect light, it devoured it, bending the glow of our lamps away from its surface. Ambrose whispered, "Dear God." Elliot stared in frozen horror. "Why is it shaped that way? Why a sphere?" "Because it was meant to contain something, or invite something. And the closer we got, the more wrong everything felt. I felt pressure behind my eyes, felt the weight of someone standing close behind me, breathing, listening. I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because I already knew who it would be. Me. A perfect shadow of myself, half a second behind. Lyra's voice cut through the suffocating silence. "We docked on a cavern platform. Alan, suit up. You're first out."
My heartbeat thudded in my helmet like war drums. My hands shook as I grabbed the rail. The exit hatch hissed. I stepped into the cavern. The pressure didn't crush me. The temperature didn't change. There was no water here, no air, just a void, like the sphere had swallowed the ocean around it. The ground felt unreal under my boots, smooth stone carved with symbols, the same markings found on a NASA satellite that vanished into deep space 30 years ago. I lifted my helmet lamp. The black sphere stood 5 meters ahead, silent, waiting. A cold ripple across its surface, like a shadow moving inside it. I whispered, "What are you?" The sphere answered, not with sound, not with movement, but with reflection. My reflection. Except, it blinked 3 seconds after I did. And then, it smiled. A smile I didn't make. Behind me, the hatch slammed shut, and someone whispered my name. "Alan, I remember you." But nobody else had stepped out. I wasn't alone.
"Alan, I remember you." The whisper slid across the cavern like cold breath on bare skin, except it came from everywhere at once. No source, no echo. Just a presence pressed right against the back of my skull. I whipped around, heart slamming against my ribs. The cavern behind me was empty. The hatch to abyssal 4 was sealed from the inside, its steel surface vibrating like someone on the other side was leaning against it. But the glass window in the hatch was blacked out. Someone had closed the internal shutters. Someone. But no one else had exited the sub. I stepped back, the weightless dust swirling around my boots like tiny sparks of static. My voice cracked inside my helmet. "Elliot? Lyra? Anyone copy?" Only static answered, high-pitched, wrong, like radio static that was trying to form words but didn't know how. A hiss dragged across my ears again. "You came back." My breath fogged the inside of my visor. "Back? I've never been here." "Yes," the whisper said, "you have." I stumbled until my shoulder hit the cavern wall. My lamp flickered across symbols etched into the stone, curved lines spiraling into perfect symmetry, like mathematical equations drawn by a hand that didn't care if they could be understood. Ambrose's voice crackled suddenly in my earpiece. "Alan, do you copy? Repeat, tunnel interference." I exhaled in relief. "Ambrose, thank God. The sphere, something's here. Something's whispering." He cut me off. "What do you mean, whispering? We don't hear anything." I froze. He sounded calm. Too calm. "Ambrose," I said, "open the hatch. I can't—" "Alan," he said, "you're still inside the airlock." My blood went cold. "No," I whispered. "No, I'm in the cavern. I stepped out 10 minutes ago." Silence on the channel. Then Elliot's voice joined in. "Alan, we're staring at you through the window." I stared at the sealed hatch. "No, you're not. Your suit telemetry shows 0 movement. You haven't left the ship." My throat closed. "Check the external cameras." "Lyra already did." A pause. "She says the cavern is empty." Something inside me snapped. A hot wave of terror surged through my chest. "I'm telling you the truth. I'm standing in the cavern, facing the sphere. If you don't open this hatch—" A soft sound behind me, like a footstep. Bare, wet. I spun so fast I almost fell. My reflection on the sphere was gone. Not delayed. Gone. The sphere's surface rippled like ink disturbed by wind, and a shape rose into view, a silhouette, human-shaped, my shape, but not aligned with me anymore. The figure turned its head, slowly, too slowly. Its movements lagged behind mine like a puppet catching up. I whispered, "What are you?" The reflection mouthed the same words,
late, then tilted its head at an unnatural angle, as if testing the limits of its neck. Elliot's voice cracked through the channel. "Alan, please, come back inside. Lyra's losing patience." I didn't answer. Couldn't. My voice wouldn't leave my throat. The reflection moved again, not copying me now, moving on its own. It reached a hand toward the sphere's inner surface, as if pressing against a window. Black liquid pooled around its fingers, spreading like tar. I stepped back, panic burning through me. My voice finally returned. "Lyra, open the damn hatch!" The hatch hissed, unlocked, then sealed again, locked itself. Ambrose cursed in my ear. "That wasn't us. Controls just froze. Systems aren't responding." The whisper at my shoulder returned, soft and intimate. "You wanted to see what's inside." I jerked, swinging my lamp wildly. The cavern remained empty, but the temperature dropped, a sharp bite against my skin despite the suit's insulation. Elliot's voice trembled. "Alan, listen to me. Whatever you're seeing, it's not real." "I know what real is," I snapped, but I wasn't sure anymore. The reflection on the sphere leaned closer, its face pressing so tightly against the surface that the features smeared, eyes stretching sideways like liquid glass, mouth widening too far. Then it stepped out, not through the sphere, out of its surface like emerging from a pool of ink. My legs went numb. It stood there, identical to me. Same suit, same scratches, same breathing pattern, but the helmet visor was pitch black, no face inside. I raised my hand slowly. "Stay back." It copied the movement, perfectly synchronized, but with a delay of 2 seconds. Delayed mimicry, like the sphere's reflections evolved into physical form. Ambrose's voice murmured in my ear. "Alan, your biometrics just spiked. What's happening?" I couldn't answer. The mimic reached toward me. Its fingers grazed my arm, and for a moment I felt myself touch myself, my nerves doubling their signals, my arm moving before I moved it. I recoiled, tripping over uneven stone. The mimic tilted its head like a curious predator. Then it opened its visor. I expected a face. Instead, I saw a void, a deep, infinite well of blackness pulling inward, collapsing light like a gravitational well. A breath escaped me. Not fear, despair. Ambrose shouted, "Alan, oxygen drop! What's going on?" I staggered backward until my launch tether snapped tight. The mimic lifted its arm again, finger pointing behind me. I turned. The sphere had changed. Its surface now reflected the cavern behind it, but the cavern in the reflection wasn't the one I stood in. It was a different space entirely, an interior of abyssal 4, except rotten, flooded, filled with drifting bodies. The bodies of the crew, Elliot, Lyra, Ambrose, dead, floating, eyes open, and behind them, a colossal shadow with too many limbs coiled in zero-gravity darkness. My chest seized. "Elliot, check the cameras. Do you see anything behind me?" Static. Then Elliot whispered into the comms. "Alan, the cameras show nothing but rock." The mimic stepped behind me, its void face inches from my shoulder. My voice trembled. "Lyra, please, open the hatch." Lyra finally answered. Her voice was steady, controlled. "Alan, the hatch is open." I turned. The hatch was wide open, lit with warm white interior lights. But no one stood inside. No shadows, no movement, just silence. Ambrose whispered, "Alan, we're all here. We're looking right at you. You're just standing in front of the closed hatch. You haven't moved in minutes." I stepped toward the open hatch. It flickered, glitched like a corrupted video frame. Then it went dark. The cavern returned, the hatch sealed. Elliot screamed into the mic, "Alan, something's happening to the sphere. It's lighting up." I looked back.
The sphere's surface rippled into a storm of reflections, showing images that weren't memories yet felt like mine. Childhood streets upside down, a launch bay twisted into spirals, a version of abyssal 4 drifting through stars instead of water. Lyra shouted, "Alan, get back now!" The mimic lunged. Its hand slammed onto my helmet, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. I saw flashes of my own memories, except wrong angles, wrong lighting, wrong timelines, like the sphere was rummaging through me, rewriting me. I screamed. I felt myself being pulled forward, toward the mimic's void face, pulled into it. Then everything stopped. The mimic froze, the sphere went silent, the cavern lights dimmed to darkness. Then a voice, not a whisper, not a hallucination, a voice spoke inside my helmet. Not English, not any language I knew, but I understood it. Open. The cavern floor lurched, gravity vanished, dust lifted into the air like stars. The sphere split open down the center, light pouring out like a newborn sun, and the entity behind the light started to push through. "This isn't a sphere," I whispered. "My God, it's a door." The voice inside the light answered, "No." A pause, a breath, a shift in reality that cracked my vision like glass. "It is the first of many."
It is the first of many. The words didn't echo. They didn't vibrate in my ears. They formed inside me, like my bones knew the meaning before my mind did. The sphere split wider. Light spilled through the cavern like a second ocean, cold, white, and weightless. The chamber lost all gravity. My boots lifted off the stone. Dust rose in glittering swarms. My tether snapped from its anchor, drifting in slow-motion spirals. And the thing pushing through the sphere? I wasn't sure it belonged to the category of thing. Arms, if they were arms, unfurled in directions that shouldn't allow joints. Not broken, added, as if more limbs could always be created when needed. Its surface wasn't flesh or metal, more like shifting void, constantly folding in on itself. A humanoid outline appeared, then disappeared, slipping like a shadow sliding between dimensions. I could feel my mind trying and failing to fill in details. Some shapes weren't meant for human comprehension. My voice barely escaped my throat. "Ambrose? Elliot? Anyone, tell me you're seeing this." Static. But underneath the static, something else. A second static. A mirror static. As if my radio was hearing itself. Then Elliot's voice cut through shakily. "Alan, just hold on. Lyra wants..." Another voice overlapped his. Same tone, same pitch, but delayed, distorted. "Alan, just hold on. Lyra wants..." I flinched. "Elliot? Elliot, your voice." "It's not me," he gasped. "Alan, something is accessing the comms." Then Lyra's voice thundered into the channel. "Focus. Alan, listen carefully. The sphere's energy output is off the charts. Whatever you're seeing, do not approach it. Do you understand?" Something drifted past my visor. A body. A human body. It floated lifelessly in the zero-gravity chamber. Pale, hair drifting like underwater strands. My stomach lurched. It was me. My exact face. My exact suit. Helmet cracked open, flooded from the inside. My breath hitched, freezing in my throat. "I'm hallucinating," I whispered. The dead version of me rotated in the light, face bloated, eyes open but unfocused.
Ambrose's voice broke through, terrified. "Alan, we see nothing on our cameras. Nothing. You're alone in that cavern." The dead me opened its mouth. Not wide, wider, like a python unhinging its jaw, and a sound crawled out, like metal folding in on itself, a shriek without breath, without air, without meaning. The living me, the only me, screamed and kicked away, spinning in 0G. My helmet slammed against stone, stars exploded across my vision. Behind me, the split sphere began to widen again, layers peeling back like petals of a flower made of darkness and gravity. The entity emerged further, long limbs stretching, pulling its mass through the aperture. A face formed. No, not a face. A shape approximating one, outlined by gravitational distortion, features shifting like a mask sculpted from shadow and starlight. My vision warped around it. The cavern bent inward. The stone beneath it cracked and folded like paper. The voice had no mouth, no sound, but the meaning stabbed directly into my skull. You open one door. A pause. A hum building beneath the words like a cosmic engine igniting. And the others here. The cavern ceiling vibrated violently. Cracks split outward in fractal patterns. The stone symbols pulsed with faint blue light, growing brighter each second. The entity's limbs stretched toward those carvings, brushing across them like someone playing a familiar instrument. Elliot shouted in my ear, "Alan, get out of there. The entire cavern is destabilizing." "I can't," my voice cracked. "Gravity's gone. My tether snapped. The sphere—" A thunderous pulse hit the cavern. Everything went still. Then, weight returned with the force of a collapsing star. I crashed to the ground so hard I tasted blood. My helmet smacked the stone. My vision wobbled. Stone pillars shattered as gravity mutated. Up became sideways. Sideways became down. My stomach twisted as the cavern flipped 90 degrees, without me moving. The entity was warping space like it was playing with a sheet of cloth. Lyra barked an order. "Seal the sphere. Alan, the sphere reacts to proximity. Touch it. Override it." "Touch it?" I screamed. "You want me to touch it?" "Either you shut that thing from the inside, or it comes through and reaches the surface." Another jolt, this one sharper, like a shockwave of warped gravity. The entity's limbs unfurled toward the cavern ceiling, reorganizing themselves like tendrils searching for leverage. It was trying to pull itself through, to enter our world. Ambrose's voice broke. "Alan, we're losing hull integrity. If that thing destabilizes gravity any further—" The cavern wall behind the entity suddenly changed. A window appeared. Not real. A reflection. The sphere showed a different version of Abyssal 4. The hull twisted inward, alarms blaring, seawater flooding the decks. Bodies. My crew, floating lifelessly through the corridors. Elliot sobbed through the radio. "Alan, the sphere's showing possible futures. If the entity reaches Earth—" No, not possible futures. I understood now. My bones understood. "These are memories," I whispered. The entity turned its shifting face toward me. My stomach dropped. A crushing weight pressed against my chest. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Its voice sank into my mind,
like a cold hand pulling me under. Your world is not the first. The sphere pulsed violently. The reflections changed again. Earth split open along glowing fissures, cities devoured by spiraling voids, skies collapsing into themselves, people screaming as their reflections peeled off their bodies like shadows turned solid. Elliot sobbed through the radio. "Alan, run! We can't lose you. Please run!" "There's no running," I whispered. "We're 30,000 feet down." The entity's limbs extended, curling around the sphere like roots gripping a seed. And then I felt something impossible. A pull. Not toward the sphere, not toward the entity, but toward myself. Like part of me was being dragged backward through time, through memory, through possibility. The mimic, my mimic, reappeared beside me, perfectly still, helmet black, silent. It raised a hand toward me again, not attacking, offering a choice. Ambrose shouted, "Alan, oxygen levels dropping. Alan, answer me." I stared at the sphere splitting itself open further, revealing a tunnel of spinning light and impossible geometry behind it. The entity was halfway through, maybe more. Lyra spoke quietly, too quietly. "Alan, seal it from the inside. That's the only way." "Inside?" I whispered. "Inside the sphere?" "Yes. But I'll never come back." Another silence, heavy, final. Then Lyra said what I already knew. "If you don't, none of us."
I wonder where you're listening from tonight. Aboard a submarine somewhere in the Pacific, or maybe deep inside your own mind, where the ocean's darkness can reach. Drop your city and state in the comments. I like to know where the void still whispers. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe before curiosity drags you into places you weren't meant to see. Stay safe out there, and if you ever find yourself staring into a perfect black reflection of yourself, remember, some doors weren't meant to be opened. This has been Paradox Eclipse Theory. Until next time, keep your lights on and watch what lies beneath.